There's really a lot to like about this budget Android phone. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and one of the things I really like about the Android ecosystem is that there are multiple manufacturers of Android smartphones, which means you're not stuck with one company that charges a premium. If you have an iPhone, good luck finding a couple of $100 iPhone out there that's not so old that it doesn't get OS updates. On the Android side, it's not like that. So you get third-party Android phones like this. This is the NUU Mobile B30 Pro 5G Android smartphone. And as you can see, it's big, it's beautifully designed, it has a pretty impressive set of cameras. There's a lot to like here. Now, I'm going to give you a lot of specs, and then we're going to do a lot of demos of photos and videos. I'll show you all the cool things it can do. But let's start with a mini unboxing. Now, obviously, I've already pulled the phone out of the box, but there's something about the box that you're going to really want to know. And you can see it's small, it's very well designed. This is a company that has a lot of success in different markets. And when you open it up, you get really even more than like the major manufacturers give you. So you get a charging block with USB-C, and you get a charging cable that's USB-C to USB-C, because on the bottom of the phone you have a USB-C plug. That's important. And you get a SIM removal tool. But what's important here is that here it doesn't look like there's any indication to do so, but if you actually pop all of this out, then you find not just the paperwork, but a phone case. So one of the great things about these sort of budget Android phones is they come with their own cases. Now, from a pragmatic perspective, that's simply because there aren't third-party companies making phone cases for phones that don't have millions of units. So it's not, quite as delightful as buying an iPhone or a Google Pixel 8 and having a case in it, but still, it's really nice to have this, and you can just literally just pop it on your phone, and now you got another level of protection. And that's pretty easy and totally worthwhile. Now, let's put all this aside. I will show you. It comes with a couple of stickers, and then getting started with your B30 Pro 5G. So nice manual. We got the cords here. All good. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the phone. And first off, let me show you fingerprint sensor, and it's fast and it's accurate and it works really well. Now, this is a 6.7-inch AMOLED display at 2400 by 1080 with 120 hertz refresh rate. Now, that refresh rate's important because it's not the highest resolution screen out there. So it's sort of like HD and a half, because HD would be 1920 by 1080, and this is 2400 by 1080. But that 120 hertz refresh means that when you're watching video, if you're playing games, all of that's going to look way better. It is really nice. Now, the front is dragon tail glass, and the back is Gorilla Glass. I obviously just put the case on it, but it is glass on both sides, even though the back looks like metal. It's powered by a MediaTek Dimensity 7050 CPU, which is an octa-core ARM CPU at 2.6 gigahertz with 128 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gig of storage. So that's a pretty decent amount of storage. 5,000 milliamp hour battery and a 30-watt fast charge capability, so you can charge this baby up pretty zippy. I find it runs for a day on typical usage. 5G and Wi-Fi 6, so Bluetooth 5.2. It has all the latest and greatest, although technically Bluetooth 5.3 is the latest, but Bluetooth 5.2 is going to serve you well for the next couple of years for sure. Dual SIM, so if you want to have a work number and a home number, you can do that. But where all of these get really fun, where most people seem to use their phones a lot, is with cameras. And on the back, you can see there are 3 lenses. There's an 8 megapixel wide angle, a 2 megapixel macro, and a whopping 108 megapixel main camera. Now, the advantage of having a really high megapixel count is that means you can crop pretty tightly, and there's still an enormous amount of data, so you can crop and still have it look really good. We'll check that in just a second. The front camera, it is a hole punch, as you see so often, and that's a 32 megapixel camera, so that's pretty nice too. Now, the phone also includes the AI Magic Eraser features, and there's a lot of AI in here on the camera side, and that's because Google's camera app for Android has a lot of good smarts in it. And like you saw, it has a fingerprint sensor, and as soon as Android 14 is available for the device, it'll show up, but right now it's running Android 13. So, enough of the specs. I know what you want. Let's switch to some photos and then some video. Let's start with a 0.6 wide angle photo here, and you can see it's done a pretty nice job. This is a tough photo because the foreground is all in shade, but the background is in bright sun. And then when we go to a 1x photo, we've zoomed in a little bit. This should be the equivalent of like a DSLR 55mm shot. And 2x, we're pulling in closer, and we're starting to get a little bit of artifacting on the actual elements in the photo, so it's not quite as crisp. And that's more obvious if you look at the grass in the background of this 4x zoom. But look at this 108 megapixel photo, and let me zoom in so you can see there's an extraordinary amount of detail here. This is me doing a close-up with the regular camera, nothing special, and then I switch to macro, and macro is kind of hard to work with because you have to be within a couple of centimeters of the object. So if the object has depth, as this particular thistle does, it had a really hard time trying to focus on it. Here's a panorama. And then here's a selfie done in portrait mode, and I think it did an excellent job with this. There's also a mode called Face Beauty, though I don't see a lot of difference between the two images. And so let's get into the night photos. These were all taken on a tripod, so they were as stable as possible, and it's not doing really great with this. Here's the third shot. And then because of all the AI in the photo app and in the camera app, I actually then gave it the opportunity to fix lighting. It actually popped up a prompt in the Photos app. And then I had a second choice to brighten HDR. And by this point, we're getting a lot of artifacting. So this does not look particularly great. And as a final test, I just used a regular photo, and it even used the flash, which didn't give me much better results, but the license plates of the cars did reflect the flash. Now let's move into videos. This first one is 0.6 zoom, and then 1x zoom, 2x zoom, and 4x zoom. And I'll note 4x is the highest level of zoom built into the phone. Here's a selfie video.
This is the selfie camera, and it's doing a nice job. I'm in a noisy environment with the river behind the camera, and I just have concrete behind me. And you can also see how it's doing with the somewhat diffused lighting.
And finally, here's a time lapse. Lots of things to like there with the photos and videos. There's a couple of weak spots, but that's okay because, you can compensate. And honestly, to improve things like night mode, that might cost you $800 to move up to that level of phone. So my guess is that most of us can probably do just fine with the night mode that this has. But I also wanted to show you, it is pretty zippy. So as you go around and as you launch apps and everything, you can see everything moves really fast. It's a really nice processor. Now, that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you and talk about with this phone. I'm very impressed. I think this is a really great option for a phone, particularly at its price point. This is not $799. This is not $999. This is not $1,000. It is considerably less expensive. If you're in the market for an Android phone and you don't need to have that super trendy logo on the back, then this is definitely one to check out. So let's talk about the price. But before we do, I'm going to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Don't forget to also click on the bell icon for notifications. And if you found this to be helpful and valuable, I appreciate a thumbs up. Excellent. Now, let me get back to the home screen. This is the NUU Mobile B30 Pro 5G Android smartphone, and it is $299.99, currently minus $30 at nuumobile.com. So for $269.99, this is a remarkable phone, and that's not payments. That is a flat out, you pay that, and this phone is yours for you to have and do as you want, and it is unlocked. So it should work on all the major carriers. Double check before you get it, but it should work with all the big ones. And that's everything I got. I really like this. This is a really solid option for an affordable Android phone. So hope to catch you in my next video.